So we're going to get started here back after lunch with a panel on heritage versus emerging brands and how to ensure successful Web3 execution. It's sponsored by Ethos, which is a white label platform that enables brands to offer digital assets, NFTs, through a fully branded experience that includes real-world utility. We've got our moderator, Matias Marquez, the co-founder, it says C-founder here, I'm like, what's C-founder? Co-founder and CEO of Ethos. And Ethos is on a mission to accelerate the world's mass adoption of digital assets by humanizing, simplifying, and facilitating rich experiences for brands and their customers. Our panelists are Shahab, Web3 marketing strategist from Liquid Death. And I have to say, if you've never tried the mountain spring water in the white can from Liquid Death, it is the most refreshing water you will ever drink. The first time I tried it, I slammed the whole can like it was a shot. It was so good. Anyway, little plug there. He's the innovative brand. Liquid Death is an innovative brand of waters and teas with trailblazing marketing and customer experience. We have Ivan Dashkov, head of Web3 for PUMA. Ivan has overseen multiple successful NFT projects and established them as a leading brand in the space. And we have Liz Kennedy, CEO of Beauty Magnet. She patented and trademarked the 5-in-1 multi-use skincare tool that's magnetized at the base called Beauty Magnet. So welcome.
Perfect, thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you very much. I guess being not 2 hours after lunch is probably the sweet spot, so it sounds like we got a good time slot here. I'll just start off by saying thank you to D2. The morning was exceptional. I love conferences where I learn a ton when I'm learning a ton, and I felt like I was learning through a fire hose this morning. So yeah, really great content. Thank you to the team at D2. Let's get right into it. So maybe I'll just let each panelist introduce themselves because we do have a remarkable panel here. So Liz, why don't you start first just by going off on who you are, your background, and just your stance on Web3, and then the same question for Ivan and Shahab.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to Chicago and breaking from your families. I know it's hard. My name is Liz Kennedy. I am the founder of a company called Beauty Magnet. It's essentially a Swiss Army knife meets Dollar Shave Club. And we are incredibly excited to talk about NFTs and the ability to place it essentially for the consumer to understand. It's more of the gifting model, if you will, for subscription. So we're really pumped to be here.
Hello, my name is Shahab from Los Angeles. My background is in marketing and social media. I currently do Web3 strategy for Liquid Death and consult on a couple of other projects as well. I love Web3 as a marketer because it's a lot more hands-on, it's innovative, you're down there in the trenches and you get to really interact with your audience.
Hey everybody, you can call me Dash. I oversee Web3 here at PUMA. My big recent news is that my nine-month-year-old took his first steps yesterday, so I'm a really proud father right now. Before I worked at PUMA, I actually worked at the NBA doing social there, oversaw social at PUMA for a little while, and then jumped into Web3 recently. I think it's just a nice new medium for brands to interact with their consumers with.
Perfect, thank you for those introductions. I'm excited to talk to each of you, and we have panelists who have executed Web3 campaigns, been able to see in real time the reaction from customers and to get data back. So I'm really excited to kind of ask questions and learn more about that. So Dash, maybe I'll start with you. It seems like every week there's a new PUMA announcement, which is really exciting. So I think it's fair to say that PUMA's active in the space. What are some real examples that you guys have run, and what have you learned from those examples?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different NFT collections out there. Our primary one is called PUMA Pass, and it's basically, the way we kind of see it as a sneaker club that people can kind of join, and they get access to the latest and greatest, newest PUMA sneakers. So for example, the first drop, we launched 2 sneakers called the Fastroid and Inferno. First time we ever released those sneakers was through the NFT community. We're doing the same right now. It actually launched today. When you have a chance, go to blackstation.puma.com. You can really see this really cool, immersive kind of metaverse type experience, gaming experience that's also connected to our NFT drops as well. We're dropping a new shoe there called the Fast RB. Then finally, we're actually launching another project at the end of this month with Gutter Cat Gang, which is an NFT project, obviously, and we're working with LaMelo Ball, one of our biggest basketball athletes. We're launching his newest shoe, the MBO3, the 3rd signature shoe in his basketball franchise, through that collection as an NFT. So we definitely embraced it. We kind of see it as like another lever that we can kind of pull in our marketing toolbox.
Perfect, thank you for that. Shahab, maybe I'll go to you. Every podcast I watch, I swear I see a Liquid Death can, and I love the branding, I love the product. Tell us about your activations and how has it been running NFT campaigns, and what have you learned?
Yeah, you know, we've experienced and experimented a lot in the space. Things that are working for us is giving exclusive VIP access from our holders to the brand. People want to be associated with the brand a lot. So we've created this NFT where people get VIP access, whether it's discounts off merch, first come to merch because our merch gets sold out instantly. We have token gated channels in our Discord where high-level executives come into our Discord and they get to ask one-on-one questions. We have events, NFT NYC, NFT LA, and we're doing some stuff with Live Nation where our holders get access and perks through Live Nation events. So that's where we are right now.
Super, super cool. Thanks for that. Liz, I'm really excited to talk to you because you're jumping into this space, and I feel like you have a perspective that I would say most people have. If I were to talk to my mom, my aunt, my uncle, I think they have a similar perspective that I do and you do. So I'm curious to where are you on your Web3 journey, and what does a future activation look like for you?
Sure. So unlike these guys, I'm an emerging brand. I'm not PUMA and Liquid Death. We are a startup. And when we heard the word NFT, we were immediately it was a hard no. We're like, no, absolutely no interest because it sounds very overwhelming. It sounds too techy. And we were just focused on innovation, not realizing NFTs are innovation. We have a subscription model. And with a subscription model, we're always trying to think of how to give a reward. So the way I am speaking to my team now about NFTs, instead of thinking of it as like cyberspace and only Coca-Cola can afford it, we're really looking at it as, hey, we have a subscription-based model, especially with Amazon. Let's turn NFT into more of a gifting program, if you will, and then people see it as more digestible award program, et cetera. So that's how we're really looking at it. If you have a subscription model, I think it's really cool to integrate it that way and get people excited about something different and new.
Perfect, thank you. I love that perspective. Leads me well to my next question that I'd love to ask you guys. We're big in thinking that mass adoption will be a big inflection point and drive the next round of innovation, the next round of like meaningful experiences. So I think mass adoption is a critical thing that we have to achieve. So on the idea of mass adoption, maybe Shahab, I'll go to you. What's in our way? What are things that are needed? How do we get to mass adoption?
Yeah, I think we have a couple of hurdles. I mentioned to you earlier that every day there is a report of a scam, a rug pull, the SEC is looking into crypto. These things kind of scare people. Another hurdle is that coming into Web3 is not seamless. It takes a level of education. In order to get mass adoption, I feel like we have to perfect educating people. We have to keep things interesting, and we have to keep things seamless.
Perfect, thank you. Liz, maybe back to you. Your views on mass adoption, what's in our way, what are things that could help get us there?
I think in order to have a successful business, you need to stop trying to do everything and pretend to know everything. And that's why we are really interested and excited to work with a company like Ethos, because they understand it. And instead of sitting there and being like, we need to understand NFTs and crypto and get obsessive over it, go to experts that really understand. They can break it down in a very digestible way so that you can then tell your consumer in your version of how to get involved in this in a way that's really digestible. That's what's really key for us.
Perfect, thank you. And Dash, with so many campaigns under your belt, I'd love to hear your answer.
Well, I kind of look more like the future. I think like it just needs to be seamless. I feel like when a consumer logs into PUMA.com, like if they have the availability just to create a wallet on the spot, and maybe they're not into the Web3 world or NFT users yet, but they're kind of getting rewarded with different NFTs or different things that we kind of put in that wallet. And maybe for 99% of people, that doesn't matter for a long time. But eventually, they will kind of be interested in it, and they can take those different NFTs that we drop into them and be able to move them into different wallets potentially. So for me, it's just like, how do we make it seamless? How do we make onboarding really easy? I think like right now, it's really tough with MetaMask and transferring funds in there, and it scares a lot of people away. So I think the easier that we can make it, I think it's going to have a big impact on the success of Web3.
And have you seen a progression, like the easier that it's becoming, the more adoption or the more non-crypto users? Is that a fair kind of like assumption I guess I'm making?
Well, we're just trying to like broaden it. So like I talked about, we have this like new immersive experience that we just launched on blackstation.puma.com. And basically our whole goal there was to like not alienate non-NFT users. So if you don't have an NFT, if you don't have a wallet, you can still go there, you can still experience it, you can still enjoy it. And I think that's kind of what we're trying to do, is like really just kind of, you know, show people what we're kind of doing in these spaces without forcing them to kind of be a part of it and an active participant.
Cool, thank you. I guess my next question is, if you're a brand thinking about doing a campaign, do you have to be a big brand? And maybe I'll start with you, Shahab, because you are a big brand, but you're also relatively, like, you're also not a big brand. And then I think we have examples like PUMA and Liz's company as well. So Shahab, maybe I'll start with you. Do you have to be a big brand to benefit from this technology?
No, not at all. Actually, our NFT project, we've invested very little funds in advertising and getting influence. We've done nothing like that. So people don't even sometimes know that the Murder Heads, which is our NFT collection, is linked to Liquid Death. We're a very small and scrappy team, and I've worked with teams that are very small, projects that are very small, that have reached great success because this space is so innovative and you can collaborate and it's unlimited possibilities. So depending on how the size of your project or your team does not matter.
Cool.
Yeah, I think people hear the word NFT or crypto and they immediately like, whoa, I can't afford that. And especially for companies like me that are emerging brands, I think what's really unique and interesting is when I take something to my investors or to my team, they immediately shut something down and say no. They're like, we can't afford it. So, you know, when you come into this, you don't realize that it actually is really affordable, and certain teams like such as yourself are like, hey, we can start small and grow with you. And that's really important, not just for a huge company like PUMA, but for someone more emerging like myself. And I think it's really unique to be able to bring this back to your team and investors and say, hey, like, we should try to tap into this and start slow. You don't have to jump in, you know, and go off the deep end. You can tread lightly and get used to it first.
And Liz, I'd love to double click there because you're like a really cool emerging brand, and you have these different channels, and you're seeing real-time data back, even just outside of digital assets. And on the way over here, we were talking about like QVC versus Amazon and like these different channels. Do you see NFTs as like the next iteration, as another channel? And is it changing, like is the landscape changing as fast as we were kind of articulating on the way over here?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to see it the way I am, where it's not just for huge brands like Coca-Cola or PUMA or now Liquid Death. You know, everyone can have a piece of it and make it their own. And that's what's really important to understand. And I'm excited to be the first in beauty to really tap into this, because I think Sephora and Ulta, once they see it and view it in a sense of award program, it's going to completely change the game and make it more exciting.
Super cool. And Ivan, you are seen as a big brand, right? But as a big brand who's done campaigns, is this only for big brands, and how can smaller brands benefit too?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started, we did a couple of small things. It's not like we jumped in and did a big NFT project to start. The first thing we did was actually a part of Decentraland's Fashion Week, I think it was 2 years ago. We had an artist that we've worked with in the past, and she was a part of Fashion Week already. She asked if she could use our brand, use our logos, use our marks, and kind of, you know, bring us with her into this experience. And that was the first thing we did. We let her do that, and she did a great job. She actually designed these really cool wedding dresses that had PUMA logos on them. I've never seen a PUMA wedding dress before. So something a little unique and a little bit different. She actually sold those as NFTs. So we're really happy to kind of support her as a partner that we've known for a long time. And especially, and then moving on, the next project that we did was this NFT project that we had close ties to. They wanted to launch like a smaller project with us, and we kind of tied some merchandise to it. So the risk for us was very low. We kind of like let them take the reins because they were really experienced in that space already. We just kind of provided, I think it was like 2,000 hoodies for the project. So just like little things like that. Those are like the little stepping stones that kind of led us to our bigger projects like PUMA Pass and Super PUMA.
Cool, and feel free not to share us the exact number, but how big is the team at PUMA in terms of Web3? Is it like 100 people? Is it just you? Like, is it somewhere in between?
It's tiny. It's tiny. It's really small, probably smaller than you think. really just a handful of people. I was actually talking to our CEO yesterday. He was amazed by how much we're accomplishing with the limited resources that we have. But we do have a really great agency partner that is really invested in the space. They really understand the space really well. They've been a really good partner to like hold our hands and really kind of push us through. And vice versa for them to get to play with a big brand, kind of put that in a portfolio too. So that's been helpful for them too.
Super, super cool. Maybe I'll move on to some individual questions. And Shahab, I'll start with you. PFP projects, I feel, were like the first iteration of NFTs, and I think they're meaningful and they're important. But I think the industry's moving moving. I don't want to say away from that, but moving ahead of that. Is Liquid Death seeing it that way? What's ahead? Can you share with us any of the ideas and concepts that you guys are running with?
Yeah. PFPs are cool. People get to find their identity, build on their IP, and that had its own meta at the time. I think now projects are moving towards utility, and for the last 6 months, we've been trying to build on this utility and give our holders access to a lot of things. While I always mention this to my team, while early on all these blue chip projects were investing heavily on like parties and events, we were building. We actually were building, and I know we hear this a lot that we're building right now. But now we have token-gated access to our website with store-wide discounts and the Live Nation thing and a few other things that we're working on as well that are slowly coming into fruition. And I think a lot of projects are now the successful projects will now be those that provide utility.
Oh, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think that these NFTs, they have to look great, and I think that's what PFPs have done really well. But I think they also have to be filled with utility for them to be joyful, right? I mean, if it's got a ton of utility and it looks great, then this is where I think people start getting really excited. Shahab, just maybe a follow-up question. What's like utility like what are some utility experiences that you're excited about today? And then what are some utility experiences that you would love to see in digital assets in the future that may not even be possible today?
Yeah, I would like to see a future where you have a wallet filled with NFTs and you get to go to different events, stores, locations, countries, and automatically your wallet reads and you have utility in different aspects. Almost like, you used to have all these grocery rewards cards. I think our tokens should work like that, where every store I go to, every event I go to, whether it's a movie theater, an event, a concert, Live Nation, whatever, my NFT will give me extra access, unlimited.
Super, super cool. Yeah, I mean, this is the direction the industry's going. Utility is going to be so important. Liz, maybe I'll come back to you on, I think these NFTs have to, and these digital assets have to be exciting and joyful to the end customer. So what would you like to see, and what would be an NFT that makes you happy, and maybe in the beauty and like, fashion world?
I think I love how men always put like beauty and fashion together. So in beauty, we're really interested in the whole AI technology of being able to scan someone's face and then giving them skincare or makeup according to that. And I think that what would be really unique is having a consumer go through that process and then get an NFT as a reward. Or back to the whole subscription model, how we do the subscription replaceable heads. Once you gather enough subscription replaceable heads, you get an NFT as a reward. Maybe you get 1 month free or 2 months free. And I think that's how it could be applied to beauty and skin specifically. But AI is such a big part of what we do that if you just dumb it down and make it really digestible and you're just like, oh, I'm scanning my face and then I'm getting an award, people will get really excited to get something for free. I mean, who doesn't want to get something for free? That's cool.
And do you see this as an opportunity to get closer to the customer? Like I know you're offering your products through different channels, which is great, but if you can create a connection directly with the customer, is this a tool for that?
Yeah, so I do a lot of social media. My background is actually television prior to my business. So for me, social media is such an extension of who I am, and it really allows me to be close to my consumer. And NFTs are really just an added way of, because if you think of it this way, when I do a live or an Instagram post, I'm like, hey, if you follow this person or you follow the brand, we'll give you XYZ. NFTs are a way of doing that without having to always talk about it. And I think that's just such an added value. And we're always looking for things that are added values, and this is one of them.
Perfect, thank you. And Dash, I was going to ask you a question, but I'm going to hold off on that question, and I just want to get your thoughts on utility. Like what are your thoughts on utility, and where does this all go?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of more excited about like some of the more boring applications of it, especially kind of like the high-end fashion space where you could have like a high-end designer bag and people could actually scan that bag and authenticate the good, and actually make sure that is a real product by having it tied with an NFT through a chip embedded in the bag. So things like that I get really excited about. Like silly things like when you get a suit fitting, maybe you get all your sizes as NFT, so you kind of always have it tied to your profile and like don't lose that. So just really having like more of these like kind of day-to-day utility use cases, I get really excited about because I think those are going to be the things that onboard people versus like a PFP project, which there are people that get excited about those, but like not the average everyday person's going to buy, you know, a PFP just for themselves, you know.
Perfect, thank you. And now the question I was going to ask you. I think this all leads to, call it digital experiences, and I think digital experiences have the opportunity to delight customers. And with your recent announcement today, maybe you can share a little bit more about that. But what's PUMA's view on digital experiences, and how do NFTs play a role in that, and where does that go?
Yeah, so digital experiences is a really large part of my job there at PUMA. And the way I kind of look at it is like, if you are in New York City, you should check out the PUMA Fifth Avenue store. It's really cool. We have the most advanced F1 simulator in the world there that's consumer facing. Literally, you get in this like little car chassis, it moves around, you get G-forces. It's really fun. There's this really cool soccer cube in there. You can kick a ball against these LED screens. It registers the soccer ball. And they're like these awesome, like fun, engaging experiences. But not everybody lives in New York City. Not everybody can go to Fifth Avenue and actually experience those. And then if you go to Puma.com, it is for the most part a pretty static experience. You're kind of just going through all these different products. You're not really engaging with the brand. You're just kind of looking at what we have to offer for sale. And what I get really excited about digital experiences, immersive experiences, such as our Black Station, or what we've done in Roblox, what we've done in Fortnite, and other places, is that like it gives you an opportunity to actually play with the brand, to engage with the brand in a meaningful way. Even like on social, you don't necessarily get that because it's still like static. You're just kind of like looking at these images or these videos, but you are actually like an active participant when you're doing something in Roblox or doing something in these immersive experiences. And I think that's really valuable to have people interact with your brand. Like it's valuable when people go into your store and kind of feel the different garments or play with these different experiences. And I see these digital experiences as the evolution of that. And you break down those barriers to entry, right? You don't have to be in a specific city. Anybody can access it as long as they have the internet, and I think that's really valuable.
Super cool. And I think during this, like, call it downturn in the economy, I mean, me as a consumer, I appreciate that brands like Puma are still out there doing new things and providing me new experiences to try. Yeah, so I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I think we were a little late in the game to e-com, and we were a little late in the game to social media before my time. And our head of marketing was basically like, we don't want to miss a beat here. So we want to keep testing, we want to keep learning, and when there's more mass adoption, we'll be ready because we have all these little test cases that we've learned from.
Super, super cool. Maybe I'll move on to one of our final questions because I want to leave some time for audience questions. But if a brand is thinking about, okay, I want to experiment, I don't want to be late, I want to be early. There's a big challenge of selling it internally, getting the stakeholders signed up for it, and it's a real kind of it's a real barrier actually. So maybe Shahab, if you want to just talk a little bit about how you've been able to move the needle at Liquid Death and getting these campaigns live and getting support from senior leadership and again, just knowing people in the audience, I'm sure are in that same position.
Yeah, you mentioned e-com. Early on when it was the start of the internet and all these things were new, we needed solutions for payment, solutions for shipping, solutions for customer service. So I feel like that's where we are right now with Web3. We're setting up the infrastructure, but those solutions are not made yet. I think for a Web2 brand to get into the space, start small, build out a community. Whether it's a good way to do it right now is probably like a free mint. Get people onboarded, and then slowly see what emerging technologies are out there so you can go ahead and innovate and jump on these opportunities. And I think the most important thing is invest in the space and your community, and also be fun. You don't want to be boring. You want to be fun and exciting. You are dealing with millennials, Gen Z, people who are interested in tech, a lot of gamers. So keep things exciting.
Super, super cool. Liquid Death, I mean, obviously you guys follow that because it's such a cool brand. Any more advice that you'd share with somebody who's thinking about and maybe running into challenges with maybe like the C-level?
Some of our greatest ideas are when we're just riffing within the team and coming out with the most outrageous ideas, and then we implement them and people love it. So don't put limitations. There are no walls. Build as far as you can.
Super cool. And Liz, for an emerging brand, it is a risk, right, to like try something.
Yeah, for sure,
so,
especially when you're working with smaller budgets.
yeah. So maybe talk about kind of how you got yourself there.
So the way I look at it is I love innovation. It's part of the reason I started my company. I love innovation. I love not reinventing the wheel, but reinventing the way something is put together. So for me, when I look at something like this, I want to be ahead of the curve with there's a million emerging beauty brands. How can we be different? And in such an oversaturated market, you don't have a choice but to do that. So when I bring something like this to my investors, I'm like, hey, we need to be doing new things, we need to be doing cool things, and we need to keep our community engaged. I think I'm really talented at keeping my community engaged. So how can we do that in a way that's digestible? And this is one of those things that it sounds really nerve-wracking when you speak to people about it, but if you break it down, again, I'm just gonna keep reiterating this, when you break it down as an award program, and you're like, hey, the entry point is not crazy expensive like you think it is, just think of this as awards. How can we award our consumers for caring about us in such a chaotic, crazy, messy space? And when you speak to them like that, I think they really, really understand it, and they're willing to at least look into it.
Super, super great. Dash, would you have any comments on kind of selling it internally and getting stakeholders signed up?
Yeah, for me, it's just like start small, maybe do like a PO-op or something like that. Just start small and kind of get results, and then broadcast those results internally. The more like kind of PR you kind of build up, and kind of the more little test cases that you have that are successful internally, I think it really helps to kind of sell it internally.
Dash is like, I'm at PUMA. Funds are unlimited. The sky's the limit.
Funds are definitely not unlimited. I did get lucky though, because our head of marketing and our CEO at the time, and our new CEO, have been like fully on board and kind of want us to kind of explore this space, and have been trying to kind of clear as many roadblocks out of our path as possible. So we've been lucky because they kind of see. For us, like obviously PUMA is a big company, and what we spend on Web3 is probably a small part of our overall budget, but they do see kind of the value of us testing these spaces long term, because if we miss that next kind of major shift in where consumers are spending their time and money, it's going to set us back years, if not more.
Sure.
Great, thank you. And then I'll just ask you guys one last question, and then we'll open it up for the audience to ask questions. Maybe I'll start with you, Liz. Just maybe an open question, just final thoughts on if you're thinking about digital assets and NFTs, and how it ties into your brand, what would you tell that person?
So I personally would never put the word NFT on my website. I would change it to something that's digestible for your company. For example, my company is called Beauty Magnet. So it'd be magnetic reward, or be magnetic, right? I think it's all about making sure the consumer doesn't feel overwhelmed. And I think that's a really great way to do it. Just take everything and make it applicable for your business.
It's really good advice. Starbucks, I think, has done a good example of that too.
Yeah,
where
such a good
yeah.
They crushed it, yeah.
Shahab, same open question to you.
Because we are in new terrain, and a lot of things have not been, a lot of solutions, and this path has not been created, I think you just have to stay ahead of the trends, see what's coming out, and jump on every opportunity. Don't be afraid to work with other teams and strategize and collaborate with other projects, because that is kind of like the ethos of Web3, of people working together in partnerships. And again, lastly, have fun with it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
I promised you guys this would be a good panel. It's great. Dash, same question to you.
One thing that I kind of think about a lot is what our community wants. And when we kind of started this off, we had three major goals. First was test and learn. Second was build community. And the third goal was be authentic. And something that we've done over and over is really listen to our community when we do these different mints, these projects. They have tons of feedback. Trust me. Like, you go to Discord, it can be a little tiresome sometimes.
That's how I design my entire business. I just ask people, what do you want?
Exactly.
That's it.
And it's awesome because they actually do give you feedback. And guess what? We can implement it in real time. And we've made changes like in the middle of mints, in the middle of big launches, where we're like, all right, like they said they wanted this, so let's change it to that. And they really appreciate that. I think that's kind of what we've become known for in the Web3 space, is like being that big brand that comes in and like we have big projects, but if our community kind of gives us feedback, we're not scared to like pivot last second and make changes to those projects.
Awesome answer. Thank you. Thank you for that. Great. Maybe just a round of applause for these guys, and then I'll do questions.
All right, so we're going to open up to questions. I did change into my panel PUMAs for running around
Love
to
it.
get the questions. So do we have any questions for this panel?
Don't be shy, guys.
We know you do. We know you do. Right.
Dash, you talked a little bit about community there at the end. I'm curious for Shahab and Liz, how do you think about community building, both kind of theoretically, but also tactically? Like, what are the platforms you're using? Do you have community managers on staff? Like, how does that sort of work for your businesses? And what role does community building play in your, quote unquote Web3 strategy?
Okay. So Liquid Death has this whole lore, and people within our community are part of the cult. We're a very scrappy team, so we're all wearing many hats. I moderate, I admin, I do a lot of things. I'll give you an example of how beneficial something like this is to a brand. Some lady who had no idea what Liquid Death even was won a giveaway from like a third party. She got the NFT. I kid you not, in 2-3 weeks later, she was wearing our merch, she was crushing cans. She became like the biggest supporter. And this kind of loyalty and this kind of acceptance that people belong within a community is very important. Every week, top-level executives come into a Discord and talk with everyone in the community, and it does wonders.
So I personally, my face, my name, my reputation is tied to my brand. So I utilize TikTok and Instagram like crazy, aside from TV, QVC, different TV segments, et cetera. But social media is obviously the #1 way to directly engage with your consumer. And I really love, not just for emerging brands, but even these guys, when there are polls in stories, what do you like more, this or that? What would you be more excited about, this or that? And I think to be able to tap into that is such a value, and it's free. It's a free, QVC, we pay like thousands and thousands of dollars to have roundtables of 10 to 15 women. And I'm like, I don't even need this. I can go to my Instagram. So it doesn't matter if you're a massive company or a more emerging brand like myself, you can tap right into those 10, 15 people and get, what would you like as an NFT? What do you want for free? What would you like to see? And everyone tells you exactly what they want.
To go off that a little bit, this is a little bit outside Web3, but when I ran social at PUMA, we basically had running shoes before, and our running shoes weren't great. We've completely redone our running shoes maybe 3 years ago. They're fantastic right now. If you're a runner, honestly, check them out. But when we started the new PUMA running Instagram account, we made it a private account, and we said, if you want to be a part of this community, request to join the community, DM us your address and your shoe size, and we'll send you a pair of shoes, and we'll accept you if we do. And these people joined in. We sent them shoes. They gave us so much feedback. They're like, it's like digging to the back of my heel. Or like they were just giving us all this awesome feedback. And we actually got to iterate on the shoe before we launched it. And those people became our biggest supporters because we sent them one pair of free shoes. They were basically like testers for us. And they gave us all this fantastic feedback. And they were going back to the running communities and telling them about like our running shoes. So that was a huge win for us. So finding those opportunities where you get direct feedback and reward those people for giving you feedback will go a long, long way with community.
If you treat your consumer like a celebrity, they'll treat you like a fan. It's one of those things. It's like, instead of tapping into like all these athletes and influencers, like treat your consumer like a celebrity, and they will tell everyone and their mother and their community of 1,000 people, doesn't matter. Like, start thinking like that, because your consumer is your celebrity.
Any other questions? I have a question. Oh, here we go. I had one too.
Thank you.
So I heard a rumor that the metaverse is dead. Is it true?
I mean, it depends how you like define the metaverse, right? For us, we take a very broad approach. So we throw things like Roblox and Fortnite into those conversations. And obviously, Roblox and Fortnite aren't dead. If you look at some of like the more like NFT attached ones, they definitely don't have the user numbers there. But we're also kind of looking at things that are on the horizon too, like Yuga Labs is other side that gets a lot of attention. So for me, it's like, it really depends how you define it. For me, I don't really I just kind of see this technology staying. I feel like there will be evolutions of it, and maybe the players right now won't be the players in the future. But I see like gaming also like basically becoming a part of the metaverse.
You know, one thing I'd add too is I think Apple hasn't heard that rumor, right? Because that headset is absolutely built for that, right? So, yeah.
I haven't tapped into metaverse. I don't think really any of my colleagues in beauty have tapped into metaverse. It's very overwhelming, but I don't know, I could be wrong. That's how I felt about NFTs, and now I just changed my perspective on it, but I am not interested in metaverse. I don't know how beauty can be in the metaverse. I don't know.
Any other questions? All right, I have a question because a few panels have mentioned it, but when you're trying to get C-suite buy-in, so specifically Liquid Death and PUMA, do you have any really specific ideas for how to get C-suite or boards on board with Web3 and Web3 execution?
I mean, to be honest with you, the biggest thing that really kind of helped us get on board onto the space and get our C-suite excited was actually seeing what our competitors were doing. There was so much PR, so much coverage about what they were doing that we knew that we had to kind of jump into the space. So we had all these like awesome different ideas and we were kind of ready to go. But once that kind of happened, that kind of pushed us over the edge. And we were like, all right, we have to do it. We see it working for other brands. So I would kind of take different use cases you see from other brands and bring those to your C-level suites and be like, hey, it's working for these other brands. You see a community being built for all three of our brands here. And it's something that you guys can kind of use to build community for your brands as well.
Any other thoughts on that?
No, he did a good job, but just to add some more, our art is done by Adult Swim's artist Will Carsola, and it fits within our lore, and we plan on building on top of this IP. And just keeping the team excited and the entire company excited is what people, they jumped on it themselves, and we are known to be counterculture, and this was right up our alley.
Great. Last chance. Any last questions? Yes.
Liz, I was wondering if you could go a little bit more into the mechanics of how you are incorporating the NFT into your subscription. How does what does that look like for your subscribers?
So transparently, we're actually still going through that process, and that's because I'm asking everyone, how do you see this fit? Because as the founder, what you think, it's funny, what you think people want is actually never what they really want. And because you're the founder, you have this delusion that you know everything, but you don't. And what we're kind of working out right now is, okay, when we do this, because there's two headpieces that are replaceable, the derma roller and the facial razor. So we're thinking of ways, okay, when we provide the NFT, whether it's through the AI technology or the facial scan, like, do you get maybe 1 month free of just one roller head? How do we do it so it also isn't so messy, right? Where the consumer's like, whoa, like there's so much going on, I'm overwhelmed, click out. You know, I like to give 3 options, A, B, and C. I don't really go past that because I just try to dumb it down as much as possible because people are doing a million things simultaneously. So we're still trying to figure that portion out. But what I see happening is after 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, you get an NFT reward program based on if you keep that subscription. I want to see you keep replenishing that subscription. That's what's interesting to me, to keep you engaged, to get me engaged simultaneously. Great answer. I mean, question, sorry.
All
Great
right.
answer, too.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that amazing insight. Give them another round of applause.